So it looks like Twitter has permanently suspended Donald Trump from using their platform. So this is what they say. After close review of recent tweets from Donald Trump account in the context around this, specifically how they're being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we permanently suspended the account due to risk of further incitement and violence. In the context of horrific events this week, we made it clear on Wednesday additional violations of the Twitter rules would potentially result in this very course of action. Public interest framework exists to enable the public to hear from elected officials and world leaders directly. It is built on a principle that the people have a right to hold power to account in the open. However, we made it clear going back years, these accounts are not above our rules entirely and cannot use Twitter to incite violence, among other things. We will continue to be transparent around our policies and their enforcement. The below is a comprehensive analysis of our policy enforcement approach in this case. Some of Trump's tweets from January 8th, 75 million great American patriots who voted for me. America first. Make America great again. Will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. Shortly after the president tweeted, to those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. So, and then just more of that, just more of their reasoning. But frankly, I'm not of the perspective that this is something that should be applauded or commended, because frankly, it sets a very dangerous precedent that we will see from this article here by Alan McLeod at Mint Press News, that these huge social media companies, these big tech companies, have always used their power of censorship to censor people on the left, to censor people who are anti-imperialist, to censor people in other countries. Even saw not too long ago Zoom, which I believe is owned by Microsoft, did not allow people who were holding a forum or panel discussion that was going to be critical of the Israeli government's inhumane treatment of the Palestinian people. So I don't think this is something, frankly, that we should be applauding if you consider yourself on the left more broadly. This will be remembered as a turning point. Snowden warns against Trump's social media ban. NSA whistleblower and internet freedom advocate Edward Snowden has cautioned the public against celebrating President Trump's recent social media ban. I know a lot of folks in the comments who read this and are like, yes, which, like, I get, but imagine for a moment a world that exists for more than the next 13 days, and this becomes a milestone that will endure, he wrote on Twitter. And then looks like Facebook also blocked Trump from accessing his accounts on that platform as well. Yeah. But, I mean, it also needs to be pointed out, I think this article alludes to it as well, how these social media platforms were totally okay with Trump threatening massive violence, threatening to start a war with Iran, with North Korea. So they're okay with violence being incited against these countries abroad, but when the chickens come home to roost, in this case with what happened at the capital city, that's just a step too far for these social media conglomerates. I mean, pretty interesting. So this is Zuckerberg. The shocking events of the last 24 hours clearly demonstrate that President Trump intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power, he announced, adding that his company believes the risk of allowing the president to continue to use our service during this period are simply too great. Therefore, we are extending the block we have placed on his Facebook and Instagram accounts indefinitely and for at least the next 2 weeks until the peaceful transition of power is complete. Many were elated at the news of the decision, while still others urged big tech companies to go further. Ban Donald Trump's Twitter account for good, wrote Sarah Manavis in the New Statesman. Former First Lady Michelle Obama was of a similar opinion, stating that now is the time for Silicon Valley companies to stop enabling this monstrous behavior and to go even further than they have already by permanently banning this man from their platform, putting in place policies to prevent their technology from being used by the nation's leaders to fuel insurrection. Yep, and this is what I was talking about. Of course, senior U.S. government figures use social media all the time to incite insurrection against enemy countries like Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, or China, but these do not trigger calls for deplatforming. Indeed, many governmental figures, including President Maduro of Venezuela and Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, in those countries have their accounts suspended or removed, not for incitement, but for simply existing. And then look at this. Last year, Facebook also announced that it would also delete any post that presented recently slain Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in a positive light. And again, Qasem Soleimani was the Iranian general murdered, I believe with at least one more person, perhaps more, in Iraq by Donald Trump, and it almost led to freaking World War III starting if it wasn't for the restraint on the Iranian side. And General Qasem Soleimani was instrumental in the fight against ISIS and a beloved figure in Iran, and President Trump ordered his assassination. And so nobody can share any positive posts about Qasem Soleimani on Facebook or they'll get removed. I mean, again, we shouldn't be cheering on censorship even if it's against people that we find deplorable and disgusting like Donald Trump. Journalist and press freedom proponent Glenn Greenwald strongly opposed Obama's call for social media giants to get tough on Trump, warning of the consequences of such an action. A handful of Silicon Valley oligarchs decide who and who cannot be heard, including the President of the U.S. They exert this power unilaterally with no standards, accountability, or appeal. Politics now is begging them to silence adversaries or permit allies to speak. He wrote, fortunately, after yesterday, that tech oligarchs should police our discussion as a virtual consensus, the co-founding editor of The Intercept lamented. Emily Ratajkowski. This gives Facebook tech Zuck the most power. If he can shut down the president off, he can shut any of us off. It's a fair point, clearly. And then this just talks about 63% of Americans, over 200 million, use Facebook, 29% or 95 million use Twitter. Both platforms have become key gateways and distributors of news around the world. Facebook in particular is by far and away the most widely used news source in the U.S., and both have extensive deepening ties to the U.S. government, rely on semi-governmental orgs to create news feeds, deciding what sources to promote, what to derank, delist, or even delete. Let's see. Yeah, so it is doubtful that any new bans will stop at only the president, however. Exactly, it's always going to be used, especially against people on the left, people against imperialism, people against capitalism, people against U.S. empire. Indeed, after the 2016 election and the dubious accusations that Russia had taken over social media, swinging the result for Trump, big tech platforms such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Bing changed their algorithms, supposedly to promote more trustworthy sources and demote unreliable ones. Instant effect, however, was a collapse in traffic for high-quality alternative media sites. Overnight, Censorship News, Google traffic fell by 47%, Common Dreams by 37%, Democracy Now! By 36%. Intercept by 19%. Mint Press News suffered similar unrecoverable losses. And look at this. Last year, it was also revealed that Facebook intentionally choked off traffic to the left-leaning magazine Mother Jones. They did also, they're not without fault. They had Tara Reid, who accused Joe Biden of sexual assault. They had her listed on their top lunatics for 2020 or something. So they're not without fault, obviously, but Facebook shouldn't be choking off traffic to their website, that's for sure. Because because of its political orientation, despite personal searches to the bosses that it was doing no such thing. Partially as a result, conversations in the far right dominate Facebook with figures like Ben Shapiro amassing fortunes and massive followings despite his well-known and well-documented constant violation of the platform's terms of service. Personal relationship with Zuckerberg. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Snowden says here. For better or worse, this Trump social media ban will be remembered as a turning point in the battle for control over digital speech. And yes, these social media companies, these big tech giants are private corporations. But again, I don't think we should be cheering on them censoring people, even if they are as deplorable, disgusting, and reactionary as Donald Trump, because again, as is pointed out, they already censor people in other countries just simply for existing, and they're always going to go after those on the left, those that call out abuses of the U.S. either internally or externally, and it's just the harbinger of more censorship to come. And again, it sets a very, very bad precedent, in my opinion. If they can permanently ban Donald Trump from using their platforms, as this Emily person alluded to, they could do it to anybody. So definitely don't support it. I would love to hear your thoughts about if big tech, if you support big tech censoring people such as this. Subscribe for more content. Like the video if you like the damn video. All power to the people. Peace. Much love.